Hi and welcome. I'm Jennifer Roig-Francolí. In this video, I am going to be sharing 5 keys to help you overcome post-pandemic performance anxiety. We are still in the pandemic, but it's a very different situation now for most of us, thankfully, than it's been for the last couple of years since 2020, depending on where you live. I understand in some places it's really not that much better, and I wish you so much healing and all the best of luck if you're in one of the places where things are getting worse. Like if you're in China right now, I really feel for you. But where I am in the United States, life is largely back to normal, whatever normal is. Nothing ever feels very normal around here to me. But what I mean is, as musicians, most of us are able to be back to what we did before, which is teaching, performing, doing what we love most is to make music and especially share it with other people. But one thing that's been coming up a lot for me is that many of my coaching clients, many of the musicians that I have been working with, have been talking to me about how there's something different going on for them since they've kind of come out of, as we're coming out of the pandemic, where they're starting to feel a kind of anxiety, performance anxiety that maybe they didn't feel before. So that's the topic of today's live video. And before I go any further, I want to just say hello to everybody who's showing up here. And I want you to know I am actually broadcasting in 2 places in Facebook with 2 different cameras. So I'm really hoping this is going to work. And if you can just send me a comment, say hello, tell me where you're from, what your instrument is, anything. Just put a comment in there right now, even if it's just a letter that has no meaning. I would love to just know that this is working. And if you're in my Facebook group, which is The Musician's Advantage with Jennifer Roig-Francolí, you might need to actually give permission to Ecamm to post your name. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to see who you are. If you want to be anonymous, that's totally fine. But otherwise, I'm seeing, like right now, I'm seeing Facebook user and Facebook user saying hi and hello. But I don't know who you are, so hi and hello. If you go to the top of the post, you should see a place where you can give permission to Ecamm, which is the provider I'm using to broadcast into Facebook today. If you don't see that, no worries, and it's okay to be anonymous. I love you anyway. Whoever you are, that's easy for me to do. Or you can just type in your name if you want me to know that you're there. If you are on my profile page, I would be so grateful if you could just say hello also. All right. So if you don't know who I am, just really briefly, I'm Jennifer Roig-Francolí. I am the creator of The Art of Freedom for Conscious Living and Masterful Artistry. I have been a professional musician almost since the day I was born. I've been doing this a really long time. Have had a very successful career as a teenager and also throughout my adult years. I don't perform so much anymore, although occasionally I do. Like last June, I did a solo performance of the 4 seasons, Vivaldi's 4 seasons. So I do, have performances sometimes, and I'm very familiar with the idea, the concept, the experience of performance anxiety. I must admit, I don't have much of it myself. I didn't have it as a kid or a teenager, but I did develop performance anxiety when I was playing in the Rochester Philharmonic Orchestra in my 20s, and that was a surprise. So I know what that's like, and I've been there. And thankfully, I discovered the Alexander technique about 20 years ago, and I've been practicing that ever since. Haven't looked back because it has completely, dramatically changed my entire life for the better. And any performance anxiety that I had, I now know how to flip that over to performance excitement. So if even if there's still a little adrenaline coursing through my bloodstream, I know what to do with it, right? I know how to stop secreting more of those stress hormones into my bloodstream, and I know how to really just enjoy the thrill of performing. And if you're a performer, you know that actually that little bit of edge makes it exciting. You don't want the nerves that are kind of like make you feel horrible and terrified, like you don't want to be there and you want to run away and you're going to have a panic attack and die. You don't want that. Am I right? How about a comment in there? Just yes. Can you relate? You don't want that. But it is nice to have just that little spark of energy that you can bring to performance that makes it different from a recording. You can be nervous on a recording and excited about a recording too, but there's something about a live performance or even a live video where you can be seen and you can interact with the people. Like right now, I can't see you, but I feel you're watching. I know people are watching, and I do really appreciate your comments. So keep them coming, keep those emojis coming. Also, if you put those in there, Facebook is more likely to share this video. Otherwise, nobody ever sees it. So thank you for your comments, your emojis, and helping to spread the word about this very important work. I feel it's very important. So you do want that little bit of excitement in your performance that makes it special. You don't want a dead performance where it's just boring, right? So I'm all about how can we shift the negative thoughts, the negative energy, the fear-based energy into a thrilling, loving, connecting energy. It's so important. I mean, why are you a musician in the first place? Just pause for a moment. Why are you a musician in the first place? I would hazard a guess, having worked with hundreds of musicians, as a musician and as a coach. I suspect you're probably a musician because you love music, right? Is that right? Am I right? If you don't love music, then get out of music. Please do something else. It's a lot easier to do, well, hopefully a lot easier to do something else. Being a musician is not the easiest thing in the world. By the way, hi from Pittsburgh. I'm from Pittsburgh too. You probably know me. Hi, I don't know who you are because I can't see your name. I wish everybody could just see the place to give eCam permission so that I could see your names, but I know it's kind of hard to find sometimes, so don't worry about it. So we'll just be Jennifer and anonymous Facebook users today. That's totally fine. And please reach out to me in a private message if you want. Anytime. I really love connecting with people and talking about these things. Okay? So let's dive into the topic. You love music, but this pandemic thing has thrown you for a loop. And suddenly you're feeling like you're back on stage and you don't want to be there all the time because there's a higher level of anxiety going on and you don't quite know how to get past it. It might just be a little bit of extra nerves that's disconcerting, or like some of the people I work with, it's really out of control, and some people have tried like everything. I wish people would come to me first, to be totally honest, but usually people come to the Alexander technique after they've tried everything else. And I even teach a specialized form of the Alexander technique called Primal Alexander, which is touch-free, hands-free. I do this because in my personal experience, it's the best way to learn Alexander technique because it teaches you exactly what you can do for yourself every single day to improve in a way that makes you not depend on your teacher's presence and hands. So I teach Primal Alexander, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's say you're going on stage, it feels a little scary or terrifying, like you're even considering quitting. By the way, sorry about the sun just came out and it's like making this huge reflection. I don't need those right now. Hello. Let's see. I don't need my glasses all the time, but I do need them for the computer, but I don't have to see you, so I can do it without my glasses. Anyway, I promised you 5 keys to help you, and I don't want to keep you here all day. I'm going to try to keep this not so long today. So I want to share 5 things that you really need to overcome this, any kind of performance anxiety actually, but there is kind of an unusual thing about the post-pandemic performance anxiety that I'm noticing talking to a lot of musicians is that it's like thrown them for a loop. They weren't expecting it. and they're not quite sure what to do with it because they haven't experienced it like this before, and it feels like it's coming out of the blue, and nothing that they've been trying, whether they've gone to other types of therapists or whatever they've tried, isn't really working. So without going into the other things, what I do works, and I know it works, and it's like guaranteed. I even give a 100% money back guarantee on my 30-day program. And by the way, if you don't have time to stay for the whole video, please make sure to pick up to join my 5-day challenge, which will take you through the very first step that I teach all of my students. That in itself is going to really, really help you. If you do it consistently for even just 5 days, you're going to notice a difference. So on my Facebook profile there, I've put a link at the top of this video to join the 5-day challenge, where you'll just get 5 daily emails. You'll learn how to do this first awareness etude that I teach, and you're going to get results, guaranteed. And it's free, by the way. The 5-day challenge is free. If you're in my Facebook group, I will post that link for you later. Actually, it's in the Facebook group. If you go to the top in the menu, you'll find it. It's called the Best Alexander Technique Exercise for Musicians. It's a warm-up. It's actually the thing that you do in the morning and in the evening. You can do it as a warm-up before you play your instrument, and it is spectacular. It's called the cycle. So do that. Even if you don't watch the rest of the video, I want you to learn the cycle and practice it every day. So I dare you to take the 5-day challenge and then let me know what happens. Okay. So here are the 5 keys I want to give you today that are going to help you overcome this post-pandemic performance anxiety that may have crept up on you unawares. And again, it will apply to any kind of performance anxiety. So number 1, you need to, Alexander actually wrote this in one of his books. He said, the mental attitude must come first. My work and the Alexander technique, my work is called The Art of Freedom. It's all about mind, body, soul, emotions, spirit, whole self unity. You can't separate the mind and the body and the emotions. So you can't even have any emotions without your body. So this is not about separating the mind from the body, but we do have those 2 words because we make a distinction, right? We have such a thing as thoughts. Those are neurons firing up here, but this is also physical and part of the body. So really can't separate the mind and body, but there is a mental attitude that we need to develop, a certain approach to how we're thinking, how we're approaching the moment right now. And the mindset I'd like to propose that you cultivate is known as a growth mindset, as opposed to a fixed mindset. It's really important to me. One of my personal values is to believe in all possibility. Capital A, capital P, all possibility. I believe in the infinite. I believe anything's possible. It doesn't mean anything is going to happen right now, but it's possible, right? I do believe that, and having that kind of an open, ready for anything attitude, like ready for the best possible thing to happen. Not the worst thing, that's also possible, but let's not pay attention to that. What do you want? What you focus on, you get more of. If you want more ease and surprises and miracles in your life, well, you have to be open to that, right? So be open to all possibility. Start there and be willing to learn. And that means starting with yourself. You need to be willing to learn about yourself. You need to be willing to get to know yourself. And that means loving yourself and being willing to accept whatever shows up. The good, the bad, the ugly. The difficult, the easy. The tension, the easing. We have an infinitude. It's like the human being is this microcosm, right? That reflects, it's like a holograph for the whole universe. We can think of anything. We can imagine anything. And it's all inside of us. It's like we have the whole world inside of us. So anything really is possible. And by the way, as a musician, you need to be open to this. Otherwise, you're going to be limited in your ability to express what some composer has imagined, right? You need to be able to access anything inside of yourself so that then you can put it into the music you play. If you improvise, you want to be able to improvise whatever you're coming up with your incredible creative spirit. Okay, so all possibility, starting with a growth mindset, being willing to learn, and that implies being curious, getting to know yourself, being curious about yourself, and being open and willing to accept whatever shows up. And that requires key number 2, which I would say is self-compassion. And along with the self-compassion and acceptance of whatever you discover about yourself, requires patience, right? Just like you can be patient with an innocent baby who makes a mess, right? And isn't trying to make a mess, like a toddler who just gets food all over the place while he's eating, right? You're not going to get angry at the toddler, hopefully, because the toddler doesn't know that that's not a good idea. The toddler needs to learn, right? But you have compassion for that toddler and you have patience as you teach the toddler. When you're practicing your instrument, you're also your own teacher, right? When you're getting to know yourself and you're willing to learn about yourself, you're also your own teacher. You are your own best teacher. You're the only person who's with you 24/7. So you need to be a compassionate teacher as you're learning about yourself. You don't be an abusive teacher who's like, oh, you're nervous again? What's wrong with you? Go stop it. Right? Don't be like that. If you're feeling really uncomfortable, like you're about to have a panic attack, what you really need is a lot of love, acceptance, and self-compassion. Ideally, you would also receive that from people around you. But I have to say that I have learned over the years, many years of being around musicians, that musicians are not the best people at sharing when they're having difficulty. Whether that means telling people about their anxiety, their nervousness, their performance anxiety, their depression, their physical pain, their neck pain, their tendonitis, their back pain. They are not typically, some people complain all the time, which is no good. I'm not talking about that. But most musicians, have something going on and they're not very open about it. So if you're in an orchestra, for example, and you're having a horrible time with post-pandemic anxiety, you might actually think you're the only one, or that there are only a couple of you in your orchestra. I guarantee a high percentage of the people at your workplace are experiencing just the same thing that you are, but they don't show it or talk about it. So you truly are not alone in this. And I know this from experience. And I run a group with more than 20 musicians, and we're always amazed at how similar we are in our experiences and how we treat ourselves and how we're experiencing the musicians around us and our audiences. We talk about all kinds of stuff, and it's very apparent that having the support of a group like that and realizing you're not alone is really important, and most musicians do not get that out in the workplace. So that's, by the way, another, that's a really important reason to check out my programs, because I have an incredibly supportive, wonderful, loving group of musicians that's there for each and every one of my students. So they don't just get me, they get my group of incredible, wonderful people. So, all right, so we have the first key, which is choosing to develop a growth mindset, being open to all possibility. We have key number 2, which is self-compassion, having patience for yourself. Don't expect for this performance anxiety to go away overnight, but also don't expect it to take a very long time to go away if you get the help you need, which is here, by the way. So patience, self-compassion, just being a loving teacher of yourself, a loving parent to that little toddler inside of you that is freaked out and doesn't want to go on stage. Okay, it's totally understandable that you're freaked out. But this video is not about why you have performance anxiety. I'm not going to go into that. I could talk about that for hours. But the truth is You don't even need to know why you have this weird new or old performance anxiety. You don't need to understand where it came from. You don't need to unpack the trauma that happened in 8th grade or what happened when you were alone with so-and-so in I don't know. It's like we all have stories. Some of us, not me, I'm so grateful I don't have this, but so many of my students did have teachers who were not kind to them. But you don't need to go back in history to figure out why this is happening to you. You just need to learn how to be really fully, compassionately present with awareness of your whole self. This is a skill. Which brings me to key number 3. You need tools, right? You need to know how to deal with this. And there are very specific steps that you can take that I teach my students, that I have practiced and practiced for myself. I practice what I preach. I don't teach anything that I don't know from personal experience that works as a musician, as a human being. So you need the tools. And dealing with performance anxiety is not something you start dealing with 10 minutes before your performance, hopefully. I mean, if you found this video and you have a performance in 10 minutes, I hope that just hearing about these possibilities is going to help you. And if you only have 10 minutes, please go to YouTube and watch that video I shared about earlier in the video today. It's called The Best Alexander Technique Exercise for Musicians. Go there right now, skip the rest of this video, go there, learn that, and sign up for my 5-day challenge. The link is in the description of that YouTube video. You can find it really easily. Okay, so do that. If you have more time to watch this, ideally, you would have more than 10 minutes before a performance when you first start helping yourself with performance anxiety. But you don't want to leave it for the last minute, which is my point. And you don't want to start working on this the day before and expect that you're going to be better the next day. I'm sure you already know that, but you'd be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't be, how many musicians have kind of vague ideas about what they're going to do before the performance or backstage, and then they get there and then they forget what they were going to do, or it doesn't work, or they do their deep breathing exercises, or they find a corner and they meditate, then they go on stage and it all flies out the window when they see the audience, or they see the critic in the front row, or their stand partner gives them a dirty look, or the conductor is taking the wrong tempo that they never rehearsed. I mean, this is the thing. There are always going to be things in performance that can potentially throw you off. So you really need to practice way in advance being ready for anything. And you have to have the specific tools to integrate your mind, your body, your emotions, your feelings, your physical feelings. You need to know how to integrate all of that in a way that calms your nervous system and opens you up to those loving, excited feelings that you're looking forward to going on stage and sharing your love of music with the energy of the audience. You want to connect and communicate with them, but you can't if you're in a fight, flight, freeze mode and you're just trying to get through it. I mean, if that's all you can do, great, get through it. But then, give yourself the gift of learning the specific ways you can take charge of your whole self and increase the easing in you. Let go of the armoring, the tension, the fearful thinking. This is a skill. Being in charge of your mind is what it comes down to. And that is number 4. You have to practice. Like the key number 3 is you need the tools. You need to learn the system. You need to learn the steps. You need to learn exactly what to do. And that is, what I teach my students, the exact system for how to do it. And number 4 is you need to practice this. You need to practice these tools on a regular daily basis. It just takes a few minutes every day, just a few minutes, and a little bit of awareness thrown in throughout the day, doing what we call constructive thinking in the Alexander world. It's especially Primal Alexander. What we do specifically in Primal Alexander is we practice something called awareness etudes. And Mio Morales is my partner and the creator of Primal Alexander, which is this revolutionary and fantastic new way of going back to the origins of the Alexander technique. When Alexander didn't use his hands with his students, it was all through self-observation, experimentation, and using the power of your mind to think differently. We need to develop the skill of having better, Alexander's words, conscious, constructive control of the individual. That's what we're developing through the consistent daily practice of these short little awareness etudes that are done without the musical instrument. They're little things like moving your arms freely with ease, noticing when you've got negative, fearful thoughts coming up and doing your constructive thinking immediately instead, which shifts you out of the startle, fear, tension response and lets go of that and opens you up to the flow of easing and effortless movement. So there is a systematic progression that I teach of Primal Alexander Awareness Etudes, starting with the cycle, which is in that YouTube video and the 5-day challenge I told you about. You learn that, which helps you to become more sensitive to what's actually going on inside of you in response to the thoughts you have. Every single thought you have is reflected by your body. So you need to develop conscious constructive control over your mind. That's key number 4, right? Number 3 is having the tools, having the specific system, the technique, the daily practice. And number 4 is really that. 3 and 4 are pretty much the same, actually, those 2 keys that I'm giving you. But number 4 is very specifically, we are learning how to take full responsibility for our well-being, starting with how we're thinking, right? You've got to become sensitive. And the awareness etudes build up your sensitivity to what happens to your body when you think a certain way. And with practice, you get really good at this. You start catching what I call the doubt monsters. You start noticing when you're thinking, I'm never going to be able to do this. And you immediately notice, like when I think that, I get tight here. If I think I'm just never going to be able to do this, or I get heavy, this pulls down. It's like, I don't want to do this. I'm not ready. You know, if you do that to yourself before you go on stage, then you try to play, of course you're just going to feel worse and you're not going to sound good. And when it sounds bad, you're going to have more performance anxiety. So it's like a cascading negative spiral that all starts up here. So the awareness etudes give you more conscious, constructive control over your thinking. All right. And last but not least, key number 5 is you really do need some guidance. You know, people, maybe you can figure all of this out on your own, and all power to you if you can overcome your performance anxiety and become free and easy and happy and play your instrument with effortless ease consistently whenever you want. Access inspired flow and totally full-bodied joy on stage, communicating your passion for music and the depth of feelings from your heart with your audience so that they are equally moved. I want that for you. And if you can do that on your own, fantastic. Most people are not able to access that on their own. And I think most people also just, when they realize that, they go looking for the support and the guidance in the wrong place, or places that are not as helpful, because they go to specialists who, can see one aspect of the thing. Like if you go to get help with this from your music teacher, they may be able to give you a lot of good advice. And yet it's most likely going to be advice that doesn't have the expert understanding of how the mind and the body work together and how to put that into the context of calming the nervous system and freeing up the body so that inspiration can flow through you. I don't know many music teachers who have that kind of training and that understanding, that level of knowledge. So again, this is not to knock music teachers. They're not trained to know those types of things. I know these things because I have the training in the Alexander technique, 7+, nearly 8 additional years of training in primal Alexander, my lifetime as a serious meditator. I've always been interested in contemplative practices. The Art of Freedom method brings all of that. Not specifically. I'm not teaching, a spiritual meditation technique at all. I could do that, but I don't go there with my students. It is a completely open, free way of accessing more calm and meditative mindfulness while you're playing passionate music. But it is, it's not a religious thing, not even remotely close. It is a natural scientific thing about how the mind and body work together. And then I add on the soul and inspiration, which for me, inspiration is about connecting to your creative spirit, your heart, and love inside of you. So these are the 5 big keys I wanted to share with you today for how you can overcome performance anxiety. Sorry, I didn't really finish with step number 5. Step number 5 is that you really need, most people, I would say 99% of people need expert guidance to help them really get to the root of the performance anxiety issue. And again, I'm not talking about getting to the historical root. I'm not talking about going into therapy and trying to figure out the stories and the traumas and trying to heal old stuff. That happens. The healing the old stuff happens, but it happens unconsciously and indirectly when you are learning how to be fully present in the moment and letting go of the excess tension that is blocking the free flow of emotions and joy in your music. So the support that I can offer you is comprehensive. I have a high-level 6-month private coaching program, which I recommend for people who are experiencing a lot of performance anxiety, like extreme performance anxiety or panicking that is not responding to the other things they may have tried, or they're just not really being able to get over it on their own. That is the best way, because the habits that we build up, professional musicians have built up a lifetime of habits playing their instrument. And so it's usually not like a quick fix to undo a lifetime of tension habits. And a lot of them, like, you don't even know that they're there until you start working with me and you start to relax and you start to realize, oh my gosh, I was holding all this stuff and I didn't even know it was in there. The 6-month program is the best. That's my premium program, and it takes my students through 3 levels of really fun self-study courses. Level 1 is all about everything I've talked to you about today, is about taking care of yourself and finding calm and ease and more conscious, constructive control over yourself so that you can bring that freedom in yourself on stage. It's all about what I call the primary instrument, which is your mind, body, self, your whole self. Level 1 is all about tuning that primary instrument and finding more ease in yourself in daily life. Level 2 is my Skills Accelerator course, where we go in depth into how to approach your instrument and your performance, and you're practicing with that kind of freedom and joy and openness to all possibility, where you get to experiment and bring that growth mindset into how you practice. I also offer, really specific, detailed help with, specific techniques with the instrument, like violinists want to work on not having so much tension in their vibrato, for example, or, singers wanting to really be at ease and express without doing stuff with their vocal cords. And or I have a lot of horn students at the moment. I don't know why suddenly I've got a lot of horn students, which I love. I love working with violinists and non-violinists, actually. So I have all kinds of instruments working with me, and all skill levels are totally welcome to join any of my programs. I don't care how well you play your instrument. I am mostly mostly interested in the primary instrument, which is you as a whole person. And then how do you bring your whole self into your music making and find a joy for yourself and share that joy with other people? It doesn't matter what skill level you're at. You can be a beginner, or I have a Juilliard professor in my group right now. So the whole range. I don't care. So in my programs, we have a group program, we have the private coaching, and then the self-study courses. The level 3 self-study course, by the way, is cutting edge practice techniques so that you become super efficient, super effective in your practice sessions. You get so much more done. You progress so much faster when you know how to bring constructive thinking into every little aspect of what you're doing with your instrument. It's incredible. It's truly incredible how fast you can progress with this knowledge. Instead of just like banging your head against the wall, trying to repeat a passage over and over, trying to get it right, and it's not working. So you keep working at it and you get frustrated and then you leave it for the next day. And no, this is all, it's much more sophisticated than the typical way that people practice, which is kind of hit or miss and just lots of repetition and frankly, lots of mindlessness. So what I teach in the level 3 is the best way to practice, which is with your whole self, awareness, clear intention, and letting go of the thoughts and the tension in your body that get in the way. So things work. And yes, when you learn this process, you can be consistent because you're in charge. You know how to get the results you want. And you're learning how to do that regardless of the circumstances. So it doesn't matter if there's a pandemic out there, if the audience is making noise, if people are yawning, if someone is unwrapping wrappers, if your string breaks, your strings slip, they're out of tune, your stand partner, their instrument breaks and you're playing a solo all of a sudden. It doesn't matter what happens, you can deal with it. And you can deal with it with just that openness, that responsiveness. You're resilient, and there's ease and calm in your system. And at the same time, you're thoroughly enjoying yourself. This is absolutely possible. I know that as a musician. I do this for myself, and it works. And it works for my students. So the 6-month private coaching program is the best. And if you really want to get to the root of what's going on for you and overcome this performance anxiety that you may be experiencing, I would strongly urge you to reach out to me and ask me about that program. That's a high-level program, and so it's not a small investment. I'll just be open about that, but it's completely life-changing, and it doesn't just help you get over performance anxiety. It does so much more. The people who take my coaching programs are just blown away by what's possible. I do have another program that is a 30-day program. It's called the Musician's Mind-Body Breakthrough, and that is the level 1 program. There's a 100% money back guarantee on that one because it works. If you do the work, it'll work, guaranteed, and you absolutely get your money's worth for all of my programs. So if you're curious and you want to learn more about the exact details of what's involved, how it works, when you can start, please send me a private message through a Facebook group or just put your name in the comments here and I will get back to you, or send me an email to jennifer@artoffreedom.me. Okay. So that's the end of what I want to share with you. I'm going to hop over to the comments because I am so happy and seeing people have been commenting, and I'm just going to check out what's over here. Hello from Alton, Illinois. Oh, hello, sister. Glad you're here. Thank you for telling me your name. Glad you're here. Greetings from Manchester by the Sea. Love that. Someone here says, I know of a musician. No, I need my glasses again. I know of a musician that was fired on the spot for one mistake at a gig. Things like that can make one nervous. I think musicians should be more supportive of one another. Yes, that actually happened to me. I did a studio gig once. My one experience playing for a studio, I did a McDonald's commercial way back in Chicago, like long time ago when I used to live there. And, I played really well, but there was like this one little thing that happened. they never call me back. So obviously that wasn't meant to be, and I'm happy I'm not spending my life playing for McDonald's commercials. It was a very fun and interesting experience, but yeah, it's horrible if you're not free to make a mistake. But really, if that's the kind of job that it's like that level of non-acceptance, you probably don't really want to be there anyway. Find a place where that's more loving and accepting. And just like, again, I didn't get called back for that, and I didn't want to go back there because I don't need that stress in my life. Who needs that kind of stress in their lives? So anyway, not everybody has the luxury to move from one place to another. So if you are in a very high stress situation where you could get fired for making one mistake, well, then you've got to pay attention that much more. You need to be so vigilant with your thinking, and you really need these skills. Okay, so I have a couple of people in my group right now who have very high level performances coming up. I have a person who's going to be a soloist with a major symphony orchestra in a couple of weeks. That's high pressure. And someone who's going to be playing with a major orchestra as a guest artist. So yes, the stakes are high, but you got to learn how to think in a way that isn't, oh my God, if I screw up, that's the end of my career. That's not a helpful way of thinking. So the art of freedom, Primal Alexander, is all about noticing what you're thinking and choosing consciously to think in a way that is constructive and helpful, that makes you feel good and open and looking forward to the great opportunities that you have. And if you don't have great opportunities on the horizon, start expecting that you will. Start there. Start with what you want. But I could go off on that tangent for another 2 hours. But yes, thanks for that comment very much. Someone says, thank you, great presentation. You're welcome. Thank you for that. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Sorry, I keep moving like this because there's something in the way of the comments here. Kara, hi Kara, thank you so much for being here. Oh, I didn't even know I could pull that on here. Are you seeing that comment? I don't know. I'm going to take it off. Kara says, everyone wants some magical solution for their problem, and everyone refuses to believe in magic. That is so perfect. That's from Lewis Carroll. Thank you so much for that. That is so true. If you want something, let's say you have this horrible post-pandemic weird performance anxiety thing going on that you don't understand and you're not being able to get rid of, you need to believe. This is that first key I gave you. You need to believe that it's possible. You need to be open to all possibility. You need to believe in magic. And I'm not saying that what I'm offering here is magic. Sometimes I like to talk about my magic phrases just kind of tongue-in-cheek. And maybe they are magic. But the point is, this work is completely natural. It is about how your mind and body are designed. It's helping you to know yourself and get to know how things work. Most of what we do is on autopilot. It's mindless. It is unaware. And we need to raise the standard, the quality of how we think and move and live in this world. That requires having that growth mindset that I talked about. That's key number 1. Having a growth mindset, being open to all possibility, being willing for things to work. Don't expect you're going to have this performance anxiety forever, or you probably will. We do create our own realities, and what you think is what you get. So you better pay attention to what you're thinking. And if what you're thinking is negative or pessimistic, you better pay attention to that and see what it's doing to you. It's not helping you. And then a lot of people realize that, but they don't have an alternative. And also, this work is not just about positive thinking. It's way more than that. It's positive thinking based on reality, and it's about the reality of the present moment and your own personal experience, so that you get to know what you're thinking and how that thought affects your body. And you get to choose what you want and create what you want through accessing inspired flow and easing in your system. It's very simple. It's an incredibly simple process, and that's why my students all learn it when they do just the few little minutes of awareness Etudes I give them every day. Success is guaranteed, or money back. So let me see if there are any other comments. That's the last comment. I want to thank you all so much for being here live. And if you're watching the replay, thank you for watching it. I'd be so grateful if all of you would just throw tons of emojis onto this broadcast and tons of comments and share it, because Facebook is not sharing stuff for anybody anymore. And it's really frustrating because I want to get the word out about this. Musicians are out there suffering silently, and they don't get much support. They don't help each other that much because they're afraid of basically losing their jobs. It makes sense that they don't talk about their problems, but it's not helpful. So I appreciate so much your support of my work in this video and telling people about it. And if you want to learn about how I can help you personally, again, just email me at jennifer@artoffreedom.me, that's .me, or send me a Facebook message anytime, or just drop a comment into here and tell me you're curious and you want to learn more, and I will reach out to you myself. So, good luck. You do not have to suffer with this performance anxiety much longer. There are solutions. This work is the best thing I've ever come across as a musician and otherwise. I want you to learn it. Do the 5-day practice challenge that is free. It's the best warm-up challenge. And yeah, enjoy yourself. Enjoy your music. That's what it's for. It shouldn't be scary and it shouldn't hurt. It's all about love. So lots of love to you, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.